in the salute flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the October 2016 meeting of the Patchogue Village Planning Board. We also have with us this evening the members of the Architectural Review Board. We have one joint hearing this evening as well, and that's actually what we're going to open up with tonight. Before we begin, just a few items of housekeeping. I'll read the safety message. The alarm system in this building, when activated, consists of a loud ringing of bells. Do not assume for a moment that it is either a prank or a false alarm. If we do hear the alarm system go off, very calmly and quickly evacuate the building. The nearest exits are on that side of the hallway. There's an exit to the rear, which is the closest to where we are. Of course, there's also an exit at this end of the building. Relocate yourselves to the sidewalks. Do not attempt to re-enter your vehicles or to drive away, as that would make life difficult for the emergency personnel who will be responding to the alarm. Once those folks have had a chance to investigate the situation and apprise us of the fact that the building is safe for re-entry, we will at that time re-enter and resume our meeting. As a reminder, smoking is not permitted within Village Hall, nor is it permitted on the premises around Village Hall. And if you have, as I'm sure most of us do, if you have a cell phone, kindly put it either on silence or put it on vibrate or turn it off, so that there's no chance of it going off during the hearing while anyone is speaking or trying to listen. Thank you for your attention to those messages. My name is Kevin Weeks. I'm the acting chairman of the board in the place of our chairman, John Rocco. John is under the weather, but he is doing much better. We hope to have him back here running these meetings as soon as possible and continue, please, to hold John, his wife Cindy, and their family in your thoughts and prayers. We hope to have him back here very quickly. We're going to deviate from our normal tradition, which is to go with the new applications first, but in deference to the members of the ARB who are here tonight, so that they can be on their way at the conclusion of the first hearing, we're going to hear an adjourned application from the September meeting, and that would be that of Family Dollar, 150 East Main Street, seeks permission to open a retail store and proposed interior renovations. Applicant is also seeking permission from the Architectural Review Board for exterior renovations, lighting, and an approximate 27-foot 6-inch by 4-foot 5-inch wall signage. Subject premises are located within the D3 business zone. Is there a representative for the applicant available this evening?
We've got two back here.
All right, if you folks would come forward, please, and state your names and addresses for the record, and then we can proceed.
Yeah, Bobby Dickey, I handle the real estate for Family Dollar, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, Carl Griffin, construction for Family Dollar, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Thank you, gentlemen. As I recall, at the September meeting, two reasons why we didn't act on this, one of which was because the ARB did not have a quorum present that night. They do this evening. The planning board, there was the architect, I believe, Mr. Gruber, I think is his name, was here, and he was unable to answer many of the rudimentary questions that we ordinarily ask businesses when they're opening up. Number of employees, hours of operation, things of that nature, and the board thought it best to wait until some people from Family Dollar with a little bit more knowledge about the actual business operations would be present this evening. I'm going to actually turn it over right now, though, to Ms. Zorzenon and the members of the ARB who did not get a chance to ask a lot of questions at the last hearing. So if you guys would like to proceed, you may.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for coming tonight. Basically, tell us what you're planning to do with the building.
Well, we're going to turn this into a retail store. Currently, we have a store already, kind of, I guess, in this greater village area. We did. Family Dollar, I guess the signage is still up, but we no longer are part of that. That's part of, I guess it was July of last year. Family Dollar was acquired by Dollar Tree, and part of the, I guess, satisfying the FTC on that, we divested several hundreds of stores. One of those happened to be the store currently that we had at the Village. So they have so much time before they actually turn that signage over to Dollar Express. So Family Dollar has no ties to this current store that may say Family Dollar if you pass by. But in a couple years ago when we were looking, we wanted to really get on that main road. Fortunately, this site came available, fed our criteria from a site standpoint size-wise. So we went ahead and made that decision to do that. It was just during that process of the acquisition that things got a little murky. They wound up taking that, so we didn't really necessarily do a quote reload. This will be kind of a new store for us now. But we wanted to get out on the main road, increase the visibility, and get a little bit bigger size-wise for the sales floor.
Well, that ties into one of our biggest concerns, is that you will be on the main road, and this building currently is in quite a lot of disrepair. So can you talk about how you're going to renovate this building and address the structural issues that we have seen? We go by and look at the property, we see things, we see the cracks, we see the mold. So how is that going to be addressed by your construction people?
And refer that to you.
Yeah. Well, part of the deal when we want to take this building, first of all, was to get an opportunity through the situation that occurred to give our current look of our Family Dollar stores, which is quite a upfit from our previous design. So get an opportunity to get some of our current colors, and I think part of this proposition for Mr. Gruber is that showing that elevations of how we're going to make repairs to the exterior of the building, and put some new colors and make any repairs that are currently there now, and also any structural issues that exist now will be addressed during the construction of the building, the renovation.
I'm going to have the board ask some questions at this time, based on some research we did.
Well, last month when Mr. Gruber was here, he was talking about painting the brick and patching the cracks, but it's evident that there are some structural issues, especially in the front facade of the building, that may even require some alterations to the storefront. So I don't know how we're proposing an elevation when the structural issues haven't been addressed on how you're going to be dealing with adding additional supports. I mean, right now, if you go look at the building, you have your soldier course of brick that's over the entire front of the building, has cracked down the center of the soldier course. So that's a major structural concern. You also have bricks crushing on the corners of the building. You can see that you're getting loading on this window here and it's transferring down to the ground. So we just don't understand how we're proposing in front of a building when that hasn't been addressed.
Okay, well, Mr. Gruber, what he proposed was actually aesthetically, when it got into the design and the structural portion of it, obviously it'd be more, entail drawings, which I'm sure will be done for the building department application for it, which includes the structural. So, in order, a lot of those cracks, I think, with the age of the building and settling probably there during the lifespan of the building. So there are several applications. I think they're going to be actually remedied by Mr. Gruber in their application for the permit, because that part of the work is what they're going to have. The part that Family Dollar is going to do is add some of the interior retrofits of the building. So anything on external walls are going to be addressed on the front end.
So with that said, I mean, because if you go to the site, it's hard to tell without getting inside of the building, but looking through the windows, it looks like you only have 2 supports throughout the whole front of the building. And you can see it is crushing this window. So this is gonna have to be addressed.
Yes.
And we just don't see how we could approve an elevation of something when we don't know what is gonna be entailed with the repair at this point.
Well, typical cracks and things such as that are a lot of remedied rather than replacing the entire building by adding additional supports.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the remedies may be to add an extra column along the storefront at that part where it's cracking, or a place where it's strategically engineered to be placed in order to prevent any further cracking, and then they can repair to the existing cracking, which includes in replacing the brick or any internal structures that were damaged over the years, so.
So those are the kind of things we need to see in an updated, I guess, elevation by Mr. Gruber. Okay, we need to see that in writing on what's going to be performed and how you're going to, what material is going to be used. We can also talk about the windows, about replacing windows.
Yeah, currently the windows that are there, they're just a 1/4-inch glass, non-insulated. The frames that are in place wouldn't be able to accept any sort of glass that would meet the current energy codes. And Mr. Gruber hadn't indicated that there was any intention of replacing any of that glass. Were you even considering replacing the storefront?
Well, that's one of the specifications that we have, and, you know, when we did the deal on this particular project, one of our specifications is the type of tempered glass, and with the specification that's more than what's currently there, so.
And
That is part of the
yeah,
requirements for us to
that's
accept
something
the
we would
space.
want on this, and that's something typically we would approve. But right now, it doesn't call for any of that to be replaced.
The other thing is the lighting. The lighting, we told, I think that they were just going to repair the lights that are on, the side, that go down the alleyway, but I believe they're quite old. Right? And broken, so, perhaps some samples of new lighting fixtures. I would either, they're what they're talking about.
As far as just replacing the glass, would you intend on replacing the entrance doors as well with the new storefronts? Because they would obviously need to meet energy code as well.
Safety as well as energy.
Right.
So the engineer would be addressing all this, and when the new
Yes.
plans are made, it will be reflected in the new plans.
I know Mr. Gruber also said that you're not, gonna be using a back entrance. Okay, so, we just want, we also just wanted to put out there with having a parking lot in the back, sometimes that's very helpful to have for customers to come through the back, so it's just something we
So,
wanted to
yeah, I
say.
can address that. So our stock room will be basically running along that back portion. So you don't wanna have customers coming in and out of the stock room. That would be just through the roof. You'd have to have, you know, an employee over there basically monitoring that door. And we're only gonna have generally 2 employees at any given time throughout the store, in the store. So, just have somebody in the stock room monitoring that, wouldn't be feasible, so.
You're counting people walking the front of the.
We are, yes ma'am. It's, we have very high profile, traffic counts out there are so much greater than the current side street that we're on right now. So that'll be a big plus, and of course you got that walk around part between the, post office and the existing building that we're gonna take, so. We'll get a little bit of all that, street front parking and all that, we hope, so.
We'll be receiving a new set of plans to look over.
Addressing things you mentioned, yeah, the elevations, yes. We'll incorporate some of the engineering to the elevations to address those things that you all
Some
mentioned.
will be able to make a better
Decision
decision.
on that once we have those plans. And if it's addressed our concerns, which we spoke to you about tonight. Anyone else have, questions here about the structure of the building or anything that I missed? It looks like we did. The other thing that falls under, our board here is your signage, which we understand is a corporate sign. So we're gonna hold off approving that once, we get everything back. I don't think we have an issue with it, I think we're good, so, we can present that as it is now, as you already
Probably
have.
it'll look very similar to what's up there now. Have you seen it today?
That's our
think
current sign, medallion on it, I'm sure that's on the.
Okay. Okay,
Are you talking about the Family Dollar on South Ocean?
that's right. Well, the
Yeah,
one
'cause
that's,
a little different.
okay.
Yeah, it's our own
Okay.
sign, this is our
Okay, yeah.
signage.
Yeah,
I think this one's nicer,
Okay, yeah, we'll put the nice one.
so you got an A on that.
Good deal.
Okay.
Need some more of these days.
Well, thank you, Ms. Zorzenon, and members of the ARB for your due diligence on this. There's sometimes a fine line between the ARB and the planning board, and they actually did a lot of the planning board's usual work there, and I thank them. You guys can get, we have copies of this photograph which shows a lot of the structural concerns that the members of the ARB are talking about. I would suggest that Mr. Gruber, as the architect, should go back to the drawing board, take these concerns into consideration and revise these plans. The original plans we were looking for they called for kind of just putting, you know, a fresh coat of paint on things and really not addressing some of the problems with what is a very old building, there's no question about it. And this picture shows some of those problems. So at that point, I think we will have a better opportunity to really properly vet this application. Some of the basic questions we had, though, were things such as the hours of operation intended for the business, and he was unable to answer that. You guys have a sense of that, number of employees?
Generally, the hours are 8 to 10, slight modification depending on where we're at. I believe this would be probably 8 to 10, unless there's something there that would prevent us from going to 10. 9, would be another one that would be an alternative. But certainly, we'd like to stay open at least till 9. I think they're generally about 10 o'clock. Once that store gets opened up, there'll be 5 to 7 employees total. But as I mentioned earlier, on any given time, there's probably going to be just 2 employees there. So
we consistently, none of us are trying to tell you guys how to run your business, but the deal with the rear entrance, the municipal lots in this village tend to be to the rear of a lot of the establishments. And people historically, they park there, they look for the nearest entrance. And, in that store, when it was the A&P supermarket, for instance, that's where everybody entered, was from the rear. So just wanted to make you aware of that you could be cutting off some of your, foot traffic from the rear.
and we are.
Other questions? Patty, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yes, actually, our acting chairman and the board made it extremely clear last time. You came in, Mr. Gruber came in, representing you, and said you were going to just paint and fix and not redo the facade. So this time we expected to have something totally different than this photograph of a decrepit old building. We spoke about the back entrance. That has to be maintained. Number one, for fire, for ambulance, for safety, for handicapped. There are people who cannot park on Main Street and access the front of the building. We made this extremely clear to Mr. Gruber when he came before us at the last meeting. The windows needed to be replaced. You're talking about doing this and doing that, but in 1 month, nothing's really been done. And you're coming before us again for the second time, and really there's no changes to the application.
Well, Ms. Kelly, in fairness to these gentlemen who were not present last month, and we didn't discuss any of this with Mr. Gruber, it was really not part of the original plan, but I think and I will certainly give a lot of credit to the members of the ARB in doing due diligence and taking a good hard look at the building. We have discovered a lot of deficiencies that need to be addressed. So this is, to a certain extent, this is new terrain we're exploring right now. And you gentlemen have indicated that you will go back to the drawing board, take a hard look at these structural deficiencies, and come up with a plan to remedy them. That's correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry.
You can take this.
Gentlemen, I
Oh,
appreciate,
we've got all this too.
I appreciate the fact that you traveled a long distance to be here, which is part of your business. I am terribly disappointed that you were thrown before us tonight, the planning board, with no plan. Mr. Gruber was here last month, he should have been here this month. Because you're talking one side, he's talking another side. I'm not really sure you're sure of the engineering situation pertaining to the building that you're gonna be leasing from Solar Associates. The roof of that building leaked like a sieve. The front of the building is sagging, the windows are not up to code, the lighting is ancient, and having worked for 28 years in retail, if you were to close that back door, you would be committing business suicide, because all of the access to there is going to be from the back, because there are only 3 parking spaces in front of the building. Hours of operation, I was happy to address that. For the square footage of the building, I can't imagine you maintaining the site with 2 people and being able to serve customers and deal with security and all the issues you have to deal with, but that's your business. But I think what we really need is for a plan to come before the planning board and the architecture review board, and to have you and Mr. Gruby here at the same time, so the whole issue can be addressed. Right now, you're talking one side, he's talking the other side, the right and left hand are not at all meshed as far as we're seeing it, and we really need to see some kind of cohesion in a plan that's gonna come together.
So the structural part, that's really managed by the landlord here.
Okay, so they need to be here.
Exactly. But I will tell you, the way we've been operating our store for many years at the village, rear entry, all that kind of stuff, whatever we've been doing, been successful through these years, up until the time we turned it over. That's kind of what we'll do over here. So I don't believe we had a rear entry for everybody just kind of come and go.
It was a different part of the situation,
Yeah.
in the situation, because if you know, the post office is next door.
That's right.
I'm at that post office every day, and there's a laundromat, close by too. There is never an open spot on Main Street, and there's one handicap spot for that whole stretch. And things have changed a lot since that Family Dollar went in. You said that it's the same parent company as Dollar Tree?
Dollar Tree is our.
Is your parent company,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I do, what is the square footage of the building?
So I think we're about 10.5, roughly.
10.5,
That might be
okay.
off a little bit, but.
You know, it concerns me that maybe only 2, I mean, again, this is your business, but only 2 employees. Because, you know, if, I've been to the Dollar Tree over on East Main Street, they have at least 2 or 3 cashiers alone, plus other folks, plus a manager. I can't imagine the community resources we would have to have if there's theft and other issues, because the store was not properly staffed. That seems like a very large space to only have 2 people.
Yeah, we've got over 8,000 stores, and we've been very successful with how we operate it. It really all depends on volume. But, I mean, if the store just does crazy good volume, then we may need to staff up a little bit more. We will. We'll just do whatever the need, you know, the sales will dictate just how much employees we need there at any given time. But like I said, there'll be 5 to 7 employees and minimum of 2, you know, at any given time, and 2 to 4, 3 probably be in the sweet spot, you know.
There's also, I don't believe, and I apologize, I ran out of the house and was distracted, so I did not bring my packet with me, but I don't ever remember seeing a floor plan for this, and that is something that we would require.
But we do have that. We've got a
Okay.
floor plan.
That was
Yeah.
not submitted to us, and we can't make a decision without that.
We've got all that internally, I know. Carl's got something right
Copy I
here.
can pass around to you.
Yeah, the answer was there'd be gondolas, that was the answer we received from Mr. Stone.
Sir?
Mr. Gruber, there will be gondolas, that was the answer we got.
Present to the board.
Sure, bring it forward.
This is a double picture plan, the one underneath is just a floor plan.
Now, my understanding is you have no intention of using the basin for anything?
That's right. We're gonna seal that off, right, Carl?
Correct.
Where are your deliveries coming in and out of?
The rear. We're gonna get that truck. We've already trucked it. Everything's good. We included that with our transportation department.
These are coolers here. I don't think I have the orientation of this right now. So this would be Main Street,
This will be Main Street.
this would be Main Street, this would be the back.
Is that the only one of those detailed floor plans you guys have?
Yes, that's the only copy that there is.
Now, you're showing the stairway as being viable on these plans, just,
I'd like to see something on the top of this if we're going for floor plans.
what's your plan for waste management? Are you gonna separate the cardboard from your garbage stream, or how do you generally do that?
Yes, we do separate the cardboard and.
So you'll have a baler as well as,
We don't always use balers. Depending on the location of the store, we have cardboard service individual district.
So you'd be looking
Cardboard
for,
sort of comes around and fixes
so
it.
you'd be looking for 2 containers, one for cardboard and one for general waste,
Yeah, typically there are two things.
which would take away parking in the back of the building as well, potentially.
I think we had that kind of set aside where the parking wasn't really right there, but I'll double check that, it was in the rear of the building somewhere.
Well, there's
Might get
a
the real-
general mutual dumpster area for everybody.
Mhm.
Mr. Brandi, who's in the building department, is addressing that with you
Okay.
when that time comes.
And you intend to put no new lighting on the alley, along the alley side of the building for security?
I think that lighting is, the lighting is proposed on the elevation is a lighting that's gonna be on the rear of the building. Typically, we have a light at the rear door, freight delivery door, and there's walls of lighting further along the building, along the walls that light up the area.
And when generally do you receive your deliveries?
It all depends. I don't know at this jurisdiction whether it's a Tuesday or anytime Tuesday through Friday, any given store may receive a delivery once a week.
During regular business hours or 5
Yes.
o'clock in the morning?
Again, that's also by the traffic, whether it's a street front store and how the traffic is, so that's dictated that way too. And with this one not being
Because you do have residences fairly close to
Right.
the site, and there may be
Right.
an impact
right,
with off-hours trucking.
they're going to look at how the current store has been receiving its trucking and our deliveries, and I think they make that assessment from there.
Are these typically box trucks, or are we talking 18-wheelers bringing in the deliveries?
We have it both ways. I mean, if it doesn't, if the site or the area doesn't allow the 18-wheelers, the bigger trucks, then yes, we use the smaller trucks to deliver the freight to the locations.
The really good news here is we've got basically a template of how it's been done before, and what we're really trying to do, basically the same thing, just on a better visibility, higher traffic counts and so forth. So, that store we've been running for, I don't know how many years, but several years. 2 people probably all that ever really managed that store, 2, maybe 3. It was a successful store for us, so we'll take a lot of that, apply it over here, so we kind of know the ins and outs of, how to do this here. And so, not starting from scratch, which is good.
Any other questions from members of the planning board at the present time?
I just feel that the application needs to be made a lot clearer. Everything's kind of wishy-washy. That's a lot of things that I'm not comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with no back doors, access for people. You might have this, you might have that. I understand maybe Mr. Gruber did not speak clearly to you to have this all prepared, but I think myself and the rest of the board expected a totally different package tonight, something way more informative than what we have right now.
Unfortunately, this is the first time we're seeing this plan, but it does appear that there could be the ability to use a rear entrance here. It doesn't go directly into your stock. There's a overhead arch that goes to one of the doors right by the bathrooms. But again, none of us have had the opportunity to look at this, so. I think
So I think our storefront, the way we're gonna do our demising wall, we'll separate the sales floor and the stock room, we'll basically run it parallel with Main Street. So that whole width of this store will have a wall, so there's, unless they're kind of coming up around the side, which I don't think that would be. So I think we're using the rear, very center rear door, that's where the receiving's gonna be, if I remember correctly.
if you want to go and take a look at the plan.
Yeah,
And this is the rear of the building, right?
that's right, that's right.
You have a hallway here next to your bathroom that leads to an entrance outside. But then you have another door that comes into your stock. According to this plan,
Yeah.
maybe that's not how it is in reality, but that's what
No,
this
it's
shows.
Give me the latest plan here.
So you could potentially utilize this as an entrance into.
Yeah, that could be something we could look into potentially. Again, that would take a lot of approvals, a lot of twisting some arms with our CEO and all that kind of stuff. But this right here would keep it obviously a little bit away from the stock room with these walls. So that could be a possibility, not saying we could do it, but we'll certainly look into that and try to accommodate that. But without that there's no way we would come through and direct the traffic through the soccer arena. But we'll have us look into that, maybe we'll make some kind of special arrangement that way. But again, if everything is oriented in the front, people are coming in here just to, maybe take stuff, easy way out. Again, you have a little bit of that hard stuff, shrink issue is gonna be a problem, so we'll see what we can do. I know the importance of having that rear parking that's already there, to kind of capture those people that are parking, but,
And also the lighting, you were kind of wishy-washy on that. Our acting chairman is big on dark sky compliant lighting, and since you are redoing the store, we would expect that you would supply new lighting around the whole store that would
it'll be,
standards.
it'll be well lit for safety reasons, that's for sure. It won't be, again, we'll be operating past 10 o'clock at night, so we're not gonna have the customers in any danger to the street or, we want it to be an inviting place to come and shop, and obviously safety is a big part of that, so.
Anyone else from the planning board right now? Would anyone from the public like to speak either for or against this application at the present time? This is an open application still. Seeing nobody, Ms. Zorzenon.
I'll avoid this, have a couple more questions just came
Go
up.
ahead.
Just make a note that when you come before us, it's good to bring color samples. Sometimes the colors on our print is different than what's really, so we'd like to see color samples. Also, Mr. Logan mentioned the roof leaking, so perhaps letting us know how that's gonna be addressed.
Yeah, that'll be fixed. We wouldn't operate a store with a leaky roof. Too much merchandise, all that, so that's already been agreed to.
And Member Brandi brought to our attention that many of our buildings, as you know, are some old buildings, we'd like to see a cornice or something rather than a flat front there, so maybe making a mental note of like a cornice or some kind of roll across the top. You're listening.
I think, gentlemen, you need to have some kind of interaction with our building department and possibly an infrastructural engineer to have this building looked at, so we have the assurance that this structure is going to be safe and to code. There are so many issues with this building. The issues have been there for 20, 30 years. And we need to know that we're doing the right thing going forward, because we're charged to make sure the right thing is done going forward. So my suggestion would be next time you come back, bring a plan, bring Mr. Gruber, bring your engineering study, and we want to see something. We want to see something real, something tangible that we can actually make a decision based on. Right now, we're just pulling concepts out of the sky. Are we going to replace the whole roof? Are we going to patch the roof? What kind of roof are we going to use? Are there issues with the parapet? If there are issues around the windows and with the soldier courses, I don't know what the parapet situation is. I don't know whether it's leaning, whether it's not leaning. The roof drains, are they working, are they not working? Maybe the roof is leaking because the drains aren't working. Where's the roof draining to? There are so many issues here that we need to be aware of and to be able to approve, and they're just not coming our way.
Yeah, we wouldn't operate a store structurally, that wouldn't have to code. It's got
But
to,
that's not the issue.
why not?
Okay, I am sure that you're wonderful, forthright, wonderful businessmen, but our fiduciary responsibility is to make sure that things are done according to the code of the Village of Patchogue and to protect the residents of the Village of Patchogue, to make sure that it's a quality operation. So we need tangible proof, not just the fact that you're great guys. Okay.
We need specific details as to what's going to be done to the building. So I think it's apparent from this hearing this evening that, and I trust we're going to, the planning board adjourn this in a minute or so, that next month we need to have a thoroughly revised plan which has a lot of particulars as to what is going to happen going forward to this building. It needs more obvious than just a power washing and a coat of paint. Well, the planning board holds a work session on, actually I don't think there is one next month, I believe, it's because of Thanksgiving, it's combined into the night of the year. But we will be here at early next month, 6:30, I believe, prior to the actual hearing. If you folks or anybody else who's gonna be representing Family Dollar wants to come in early before the meeting to go over a few things before we actually get to this stage in the game, that sometimes is very helpful. All right, so You guys going back, understand what we're looking for?
Yes.
I would entertain at this point a motion from the board to adjourn this matter.
So moved.
Motion made and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Ms. Zorzenon.
Can I have a motion for Family Dollar at 150 East Main Street?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the application for Family Dollar at 150 East Main Street until we get all the necessary requirements that we've asked for tonight.
I'll second the motion. Motion made by Member Beckman, second by Member Brandi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zorzenon. So I trust you'll be sharing with Mr. Gruber the gist of our discussion this evening, so that he and his associates can get back to the drawing board and make the necessary changes. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Members of the ARB, certainly at this time, since there's no other business before you, you guys may certainly leave. Where do they stay? We'll give you a chance to gather your things. All right, moving on to the new portion of our agenda. We have two new applications, and we're going to be hearing those next. The first is the application of Elizabeth Potts, 76 North Ocean Avenue, seeks permission to open an antique shop. Subject premises are located in the D3 business zone. Good evening. Do you have your receipts of mailing for Mr. Dale?
It is.
Thanks. Just state your name and address and tell us all about your plan here.
My name is Elizabeth Potts. My address is 190 Victory Drive, Ronkonkoma. Planning to open a vintage antique home furnishing store with some furniture, home decor, things of that nature.
This is the former backdoor bookshop, I think it was called, next to Reese's 1900.
Yep.
Is this a line of work that you've been involved with in the past?
Yes, I've been, currently I sell online, working in a small office. So I've been doing that for about 4 years now. So time just came to open the store.
We have a floor plan in front of us. Most of this, I assume, is existing. There's no
Correct.
real need to do any major renovations to the interior of the building. What would you propose as your hours of operation for the shop?
During the week, probably open at 11 a.m. and I'll probably stay open until about 6 or 7 o'clock. Probably be closed Mondays and Tuesdays, I think. And Saturday and Sunday, I'll probably open closer to 12 o'clock and be open until probably 6 o'clock.
You used to be operating an online business, and will you be operating it out of this store?
Yes.
So you'll pick up some deliveries coming out of that store then?
Not really deliveries or pickups so much, occasionally, but most of the shipping I do to the postal service.
Would you be working alone? Would you plan on having a staff?
No, well, my mother just retired, so she's going to be helping me. My boyfriend's been helping me now, and going forward, if I feel like I need to hire more people,
So true mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
2 to 3 staff for starters.
Will you be like displaying a lot of your pieces in here, or is this being the office space?
Yep.
Is there anything large that you're gonna have there? I'm just looking at the 2 doors going in there, you would get stuff in.
Yeah, just like smaller furniture, nothing, no huge pieces, but, it kind of fluctuates what I have, because it's all one of a kind antique stuff,
Right.
so.
Your furniture, knickknacks and lamps and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
paintings, stuff like that, some housewares, lamps.
So rotating display of pieces. You just were witnessing what we talked about regarding parking, there's a municipal lot to the rear of this building,
Right,
so there's public parking back there.
correct.
The ARB, of course, was just here, you did give us some signage, so you understand that that's gonna have to be approved by that board.
Correct.
Planning on changing the color of the building?
No.
It's green now, is it?
Yeah, it's like a green color.
When are you hoping to open?
I'm trying to be open within the next 2 weeks.
Is there a basement to this, building?
I don't believe so. I believe, I know when I pulled some of the floorboards up, when the guy was installing the cable, it was just like a little tiny bit of a crawl space, but it's not really a full basement.
Yeah. So the pieces you bring in, you can pretty much carry from the parking lot in, you're
Right,
in a few
right.
trips, you know.
Right, yeah,
So not
it's only
really-
stuff that I can really handle myself, or like with my boyfriend and stuff, yeah.
Two people or something.
Right,
Okay.
And there is actually one parking spot right in front of the store, so.
Yes.
for loading.
Will you be like working on any of the furniture in there or anything, or it just comes in and goes out?
No, I do have somebody who, if any of the furniture needs restoration, he has his own shop that I, give it to him before I bring it in, but I don't do anything.
That's great.
So this is strictly retail.
Correct.
Sounds like a nice plan for that building. Anybody else on the board have a question? That's fairly straightforward. Anyone from the public would like to speak either for or against this application at this time? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion from the board on the application.
Chairman, I move that we approve the application as it is subject to the application meeting requirements of the building department.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Best of luck.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Next on our agenda, again, a new application is that of Mind State Media LLC and Mark Weiss Designs Incorporated, 427 West Main Street, seeks permission to open a videography, photography, and graphic design studio. Subject premises are located in the D2 business zone. Do we have the applicant or an agent for the applicant? Yes, we do. Come on down.
Would it be alright if I left my hat on?
I don't have any objection.
I don't work a courtroom. I don't want to be rude.
Do you have the mailings, the receipts of the
I do.
mailings for Ms. Chile? You could give those to her this time.
It's been cool, you know?
All right, gentlemen, if you would state your names and addresses for the record, and then tell us all about your plan.
I'm Bobby Fry, or Robert Fry. As of right now, I have an office that I run out of in Ronkonkoma, which is 4949 Express Drive North. But my home address, we just bought a house in Patchogue, 79 Newman Street, just north of Sunrise by Canyon Lake. I own My State Media. Started it about, say, 4 years now officially LLC, and been doing it kind of on the side as I got older for a very long time. Patchogue is kind of home for me. I lived here with my mother. That's where I began the business. I then moved away, got the office in Ronkonkoma, continued my business. A lot of my clients are here. I did a commercial for Village Idiot, the Tap Room, J Signs. I did a video to promote a Live After 5. I'm trying to think who else. That's about it as of now. Hoping to grow that number though. So I just wanted to be closer to home. Yeah.
Welcome back to the community. So business is good enough that you feel you actually need a place to hang a shingle and expand?
Yeah, the office right now serves mostly for me as a place to hold meetings with a potential client. I would say 90% of the time it's just me in there editing, a lot of editing. But yes, the space that you see on the plan that I casually drew up, that main kind of area can be utilized for kind of any of our needs. If I want to just do some quick baby photos or portraits, I can do them there. It can be kind of just a general room that we can break down and reset to fit our needs. I know Mark here has a big printer that we might put in that room, something like that. But yeah, I just wanted to be closer to home. I thought, being closer to the businesses that mean the most to me was really important. I wanted to be close to them, so when we work on a project, it's something that we keep within the community. I just wanted more space, more ability to connect with other businesses, which is something that I cannot do right now in Oconomowoc. I'm in a building that's very isolated, right off the expressway, kind of nowhere near anyone else.
Makes sense. Sir, you are Mark Weiss.
I am Mark Weiss. I'm not as much of a talker as he is.
Okay. What is your, so is this sort of a shared
This
merged
is a shared
business
space.
enterprise?
I'm thinking we can really both benefit from each other's expertise in our different fields.
For the record, the lease will be under My State Media's name. He will technically be Word subleasing. But I wanted to have him present. I was told it wasn't completely necessary, but just so you can understand.
You guys work together? Do your areas of expertise sort of merge on a lot of these projects?
In the future, they definitely, I can definitely see them merging. We'll offer the complete package. He'll do videography. He does a lot of videography for weddings. So I can see in the future doing a lot of, the whole design suite for invitations, for announcements. So we can really benefit from each other. This will be a great office space. Currently, I reside in Seven Riches. I have an office at my dad's company currently. So this is going to be, Patchogue is expanding. It's doing so well. This is just going to be amazing in terms of foot traffic and just word of mouth. He's extremely professional. So we'll both really bounce off of each other and become more successful. So,
And that is part of the plan. We've already had jobs where Mark here has done design work for them, and because of that, he's recommended me, and I'm now working on commercials for said business. And we're really hoping that relationship only builds. As I get a client, they might require some sort of design work, and vice versa. So we're really kind of hoping to help team each other up.
Any needs for additional staffing besides the two of you?
As of right now, no. Obviously, I'm hoping that changes. I would like to grow as much as a business like mine can. At some point, I may need to hire an editor that can continue to work on jobs while I'm out, physically producing jobs. But as of right now, I'm keeping my workload to kind of just the perfect amount for me to be able to go out and shoot, then come back and edit for the week, and do my office hours. And I've been working that way. But the possibility of hiring an editor is always something that could happen.
Sure. Will this be a storefront with any kind of traditional business hours, or is it sort of by appointment only? You'll be there doing your own work. And how much foot traffic flow do you expect into the building?
Well, I mean,
you want to call it 9 to 5, and then special extended meetings if necessary.
You need to meet with clients
Yeah,
after hours.
After hours, because I
Within
know they
their
can be busy, during the workday.
That makes sense.
I mean, the goal is to definitely try to capture some foot traffic, but in our line of work, most things are done by appointment, just because that's the way people like to do things. So it is one of those things where we will use the office space to get work done, such as editing on my part, editing on his part as well with design. So we'll be in the office anyway, so we'll kind of have these office hours, but they could extend just to get work done late tonight. I do have a lot of clients that maybe want to meet to go over wedding video options, and they can only meet after they get out of work on a weekday. So maybe I'll stay late to have a meeting like that. But kind of general 9 to 5 type day. With extended hours obviously.
As far as the actual physical floor plan, is there, it's nicely drawn, is there a need for a lot of renovations to this, or pretty much is this as is?
No.
Yes, it's as is. I believe they did put
Yeah, the wall for Mark Weiss Designs where you see his office.
Mhm.
There was a wall there, then they took it down for the previous renter, and then tenant, thank you, and then they put the wall back up for us.
It's like a knee wall or something like that, or just a dividing wall, it's.
It's dividing wall.
Yeah,
Uh,
not
just
not a
as-
load bearing wall or anything.
Gotcha.
But in general, the entire area is up to code, up to date. Is actually very kept, very nice. It was by a woman who was running a paint studio. So everything is,
So it's pretty good shape, not
It's
a
in
need for a
great
major
shape.
yeah.
facelift, really.
Yeah, it's what kind of drew our attention to it right away was the price and how good condition it
Somewhat
was.
turnkey.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead, questions from the board?
Parking, you hope to, because I know there's a bar, there's a few other businesses there. Are you aware of the parking?
I could see how it probably gets tight, for sure.
Especially probably at night if you have an evening appointment.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you will because people work and whatnot, but I'm just, pointing that out to you.
Yeah. I think as far as a worry, it doesn't kind of go on a high register for me just because it's mainly going to be just the two cars during the day. Seldomly clients coming in. And also, when I do have late meetings, it is usually on a weekday, so I'm not too concerned. I know, the bar is kind of a local thing. Many people frequent there on a daily basis, so I believe kind of anyone in that area already knows about the parking. So, I mean, at any given point, I'm kind of crossing my fingers that it doesn't ever become a problem. But I'm aware that there's obviously not much to park, but
Fingers crossed.
yeah.
Is there parking?
Now, one other question, you're a graphic designer, correct?
Correct.
Now, you talked about invitations, announcements, you'll be printing them there?
No, everything is printed, through companies like Vistaprint or, other online printers. So there's no huge printers printing and
Okay.
running and all of that. It's all outside.
And so obviously no shipping as well.
Mr. Logan?
I see there is a back exit. Is there any parking outside of the back exit that's accessible to you?
That's kind of the whole parking lot, yeah. There's
Is that the one that adjoins the parking lot of the Burger Shack, or is there a separate one?
it's the same one. It wraps around kind of.
Black, yeah.
It's a very weird park. Yeah, it's like a little corner of it that wraps behind it, and there is a rear exit. Which when you go through that door, there's a hallway. To the left is the dance studio. To the right is a stairwell for basement storage, and then our emergency exit door, which is what it will act as for us.
And you're only going to use the first floor?
First floor, correct.
Do you have any anticipation of signage for the site?
I do. We gotta go over finance and at what point we're gonna actually try to conquer really nice signage outside. Like I said, I did a commercial for J Signs, so I kind of know what it entails to create them, and he kind of made me privy to the fact that they have to be signed off on, especially when it's on Main Street. So yeah, he knows all the rules, of course.
Would that be signed off through the ARB?
That's correct, signage is the ARB's purview, and yes, in Jerome, he's done this 1,000 times, he knows everything.
Very good.
So very excited to hopefully get a very nice sign built.
Let's get approved.
Terrific. Anyone else with any questions on the planning board? Anyone in the public will wish to speak either for or against this application at this time? Seeing no one, I will entertain a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this application based on ARB approval for signage.
Motion by Ms. Kelly, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mucha, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried, best of luck.
Thank
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Everyone has been unbelievably warming and welcoming so far, so I appreciate it.
It's well nice to hear.
Thank you.
Sure, did you see it first?
Next on our agenda, we're going to move back to the adjourned calendar, and we have the application of GRB Development, Inc., otherwise known as the Riverwalk, Phase 2, 6 minor division with proposed Lot 1, condo number 3, Lot 2, condo number 4, proposed lot number 3 to be dedicated to the Village of Patchogue for park purposes, and proposed lot number 4 for pump station parcel to be dedicated to the Village of Patchogue. Subject premises are located in the D2 and the E industrial zones. Good evening.
Good
State your
evening,
name and address, please, for the record.
good evening, Mr. Chairman. Rachel Shelfo, Tillman Ballin, 100 Motor Parkway, Hog, New York, for the applicant. With me here tonight is Mr. Michael Kelly. He is the applicant and the developer of this property. I have some exhibits which I'd like to hand up to the board if I may.
Absolutely.
Just for the record, it's a packet of photographs and a copy of the approved lighting plan.
Terrific.
Just to remind the board what we're here trying to accomplish, and as I discussed last time, pursuant to covenant and restriction number 5, as part of the prior approval of this board, the pump station parcel in red, this little tiny lot, was to be separated from the larger park property, the Riverwalk property, and separately deeded to the village. So our application is for that minor subdivision. However, while we were here last week, some issues were raised about some different topics. And so we had the ability to come before the work session meeting of the board last week. Myself and Mr. Kelly attended with several board members, and we were able to discuss those issues. And we're here tonight to present it to the full membership of the board.
Excellent.
So if I may, the first issue that was raised was with respect to site lighting. I went back and looked at the records. As per the planning board decision dated December 21st, 2010, requirements were period lighting throughout to match the village lighting. All lighting shall be dark sky compliant, and there was an approved lighting plan on file with the village, which I have just submitted for the record. I also, in your packet of photographs, submitted some photos of the period lighting, which you could see is at regular intervals along the Riverwalk. I have had the opportunity to walk the Riverwalk twice, once at dusk, and I was there tonight when it was actually dark out, as the season is changing here as this progresses. And it is a well-lit path. And I have some photos for you to take a look at that. With respect to the Riverwalk plan, there was some confusion about the Riverwalk history and purpose by some of those in the audience last time. Also, as per the planning board decision dated December 2010, the requirements were that the applicant shall plan and implement the Riverwalk, that it would be dedicated to the village and maintained by the HOA. Also, as per the covenants and restrictions that were filed in connection with that application, dedicated to the village. I looked at the minutes from those hearings, and the Riverwalk was supposed to be developed as a meandering walkway with several places to enjoy the scenery, walkability, with decks to overlook the river. It was meant to be an open park, open to residents, and pervious materials for the walkway. So I wish to report to the board for the record that all of that is done and has been completed, and we have photographs of same in the photographic packet for your review. Some residents raised an issue regarding security. With respect to that, I submit the approved lighting plan, the photos of same. Also, we are proposing fencing, estate-style aluminum fencing. The company that makes the fence is Eastern Ornamental Aluminum Fence. There's a specific style that is being proposed, which I have submitted in the board's packet. I also have some photographs of same. And just for the record, will I mess you up, Carol, if I walk away from that microphone? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm on the record. So you all have in your packet the up-close photo of this style. This is the one that we're proposing. This is easier if I just point it out and then I'll go back to the podium. So on the original site plan, fencing was approved for this limited portion right here, which I've highlighted in yellow just to make it a little bit easier. However, Mr. Kelly has told me that his intention was to go further with the fencing. And so he pointed me to his marketing brochure, which sort of shows the fencing in this yellow line here, going all the way up and around the park area, and it also cuts across this way. So there were some residents who had questions, just making sure that it goes down to that third bio retention area, and in this case, it will. So this is a little bit small to see, so I don't know if I want to just kind of take a closer look if I pass it through the board. But this is how it started, and this yellow line here is what the intention is. And you have photos of the style.
Really the space from the bio retention and the park and the last building number 10.
Right.
How do you separate that to avoid the public coming in, but the public has access to the park, the Riverwalk? So we felt the need to do that fence line a little bit further down to provide that separation.
Are the residents gonna have access to the complex, or they have to go around as well?
So the residents have
Access
there's
through the
access right
complex.
in front of that building.
Right.
The walkway to the Riverwalk.
Right, so there's like, this side walkway, pathway there, and then there's a central
So
pathway
between
right in the
buildings
middle.
13 and 15 and over near building 10.
There should be 3.
And
And
there's another one near
also-
building 18.
Correct, correct.
So there will be breaks in the fence line at
Yes.
those points, because as we mentioned last month, my understanding was that meandering path that goes through the middle was meant to invite people into the sort of green space, and it does it very well, and that's, your
When you see
access
that
to
walkway,
it.
there'll be breaks in the fence.
Okay, sounds good. Now, I'm sorry if I'm confused, are these all the same style of fencing in this?
We're gonna go with the one on the bottom right.
Oh, okay, I got you. I mean, they're all similar, obviously, they're a little bit
Yeah,
different.
they're all black vinyl, black aluminum. But that bottom frame.
Yes, that's the one.
Nice, look, it creates a physical barrier, but does not prohibit
It's
the
ornamental
sightline.
fence, yeah.
Exactly, and if you look in the booklet of photos I provided, I believe there's a bigger picture of it.
Did you look at it after the minutes?
Could you clarify, are the condo parcels already subdivided off and we're just subdividing off the pump station from the Riverwalk parcel? Or are we creating the Riverwalk?
So as it stands now, if I had my other map, the yellow and pink parcels, which are condo 3 and condo 4, are now separate parcels from the green parcel, which is the park parcel. So it's right now, it's 1, 2, 3. And these all have their own tax map numbers, and I've spoken with Real Property about this. And so now what we're trying to accomplish is just the pump station to be separated off so that it could be separately deeded to the village, which was one of the village's requirements going,
Right,
way
because
back to
the
the prior
village does
rules.
not want to make the pump station parkland.
Right.
If I was to look at,
Understandably so,
if I
again.
was to look at a
Yeah.
map of the subdivision that was before the board tonight, am I just seeing the green parcel?
That is my understanding, because if you could see how it exists now with the existing tax lots, the only 2 new tax lots to be created will be these 2.
And the green has a tax map number now, we're just recreating
It
new ones
does.
because we're cutting a piece off.
Right, so say it's 25.1, 25.2, and 25.3, I believe that's accurate, it might have, but, these 2 are now gonna become 4 and 5, and 3 will be retired. That's the way the gentleman at Suffolk County Mapping Real Property described it to me.
So all we're doing here is cutting off the pump house.
Right, it's a minor subdivision application, that's
As
why,
minor as minor could be.
it's as minor can be,
A lot of
yes.
value in that pump station.
Well, I don't want to talk about what's in the pump station.
Black gold.
So, the last and perhaps the biggest issue that was raised last time was with respect to the bio-retention area. So there's 3 bio-retention areas, as you recall, A, B, and C. The biggest one, which is in this portion of the property, is bio-retention area C. That's the one that the residents informed us was filled with water, that it wasn't working properly. So what my client has done was he went about installing 4 dry wells, 4 rings in that area, 2 and 2. He has reseeded the area, refilled it with power seed, which is the right seed that is the approved seed that is going to grow the right material for a bioretention area, which will allow percolation and all that sort of thing. So I submitted 2 photographs of it last week, but my client actually has gone ahead and taken the step of making it green so that it will blend better with the grass and the surrounding green space. So that was, unfortunately, I wasn't able to print that out in advance of coming here tonight. But towards the end of your photo packet, I think there's the 2 photographs of how it looked
Right,
last week.
this is the one more to the north of the property, which, at least this afternoon when I was there, appeared to be like a sand trap or beach sand sort of.
Right.
Those are the ones.
About 4:30, we came in with a hydro seed.
Oh, you did, okay, I was up there at noon time, okay. All
So,
right.
for the record then, because I asked you this before, we had a heavy rain on Saturday, you've been there since Saturday, it's raining
Personally, I
already.
wasn't, but members of my staff were there.
Okay,
They were
and
there
it's
on
working.
Sunday. It's working.
I can tell you I was there at noon today, and there's almost no standing water in any of the swales. I mean, I imagine if you walked into them, your feet might have gotten a little mucky. The one that we're speaking of that's been redone looked like a bunker at a golf course. There was no sign.
Okay, you know, sorry. The swales themselves are supposed to hold water and it settles in
Yes.
a timely manner. It wasn't perfect. We were too low on the bottom, we scraped it, took material out. That's what created that water feature.
Mosquito trap.
And
That's
then,
what they-
since then,
Yeah.
we've come back, we've added probably about 12 inches of bank run.
So the bank runs will
Okay, that's good
And then on
news.
top of that, the hydro seed spray that you saw in that picture, the green picture, that's a seed mix, a DEC seed mix to further help absorb whatever's gonna settle into that bioretention.
Great.
So on Saturday when the clicker was 3 some other idea, that was gonna bring it
Great.
Well, that's, yeah.
Well, I think as we tell applicants all the time with regard to stormwater runoff, it's a work in progress, and if things aren't working, you have to go back and figure out what's going to correct that problem.
We're in the process now to transferring from the developer as the homeowners association, controlling member to the individual resident owners. Do sometime in, I think November 15th, we have our annual meeting. So at that point in time, we'll get control to the HOA, that's why it's somewhat critical now to try to key this up to the.
Right, so we are hoping that, having addressed the issues that were raised, the last 2 items that are being done are the fencing, which is happening in the next week. I think November 7th was the date you had.
Yeah.
And the gazebo, which is right there, right before the center, like, which has been,
2 to 3 weeks. That'll be put on there.
so that's it. I think, some of the residents kind of heard dedicated to the village and thought it was more than what it was. It's everything that is existing, it's everything that Mr. Kelly has already done and accomplished in such a nice way. And I hope that this clarifies.
There was a lot of confusion amongst the residents last time about this, and hopefully in the month that's gone by, we've all been able to clarify some of that. There's still a few loose ends that need to be tied up. We discussed some. If there's going to be a village park, there will be somewhat of an issue in the village. It's going to be incumbent upon the village, not only to help secure the site, but come up with some means of minimal parking. I went and enjoyed a nice noontime walk on the Riverwalk today, but I knew what I was getting into. I parked at the railroad station on 7th Street where no one ever parks. I just hoofed it across the street and I was there in no time at all. But there's a couple options the village can come up with where there might be a couple of parking spaces, maybe for folks who are somewhat handicapped, that will not involve anyone going on the site to park. So we don't want that happening.
South Street's pretty open too.
There's at the end of South Street, there's a couple of, they're striped actually still, it's sort of covered with sand. They can
Yes.
easily be converted into a couple of parking spaces.
And that's where I have always personally parked, and it's kind of nice because the Riverwalk itself kind of starts
Yes, it does.
on
Instead of starting
South
in the middle.
Street. It
Yeah.
starts right on South Street, so you can kind of pick it up there.
Kevin, another thing that think the Reliance property now belongs to the village as part of the sewer plant, so.
Well, that would be, that would be the logical place for a couple, just a couple, that's all you really need.
How's that, what's that,
This is, I mean, the intent originally, if you will, is passive recreation. It's a great benefit to the residents. It's not meant to be some, place where you go and, at the boardwalk in Santa Monica, California, so it's a nice, I enjoyed it. I saw a great blue heron, several mallards. You can see the tide actually sort of coursing through the river, which is very shallow at that point. I don't remember, going back to the original design for the Riverwalk, the DEC had, within certain limits, approved clearing some of the debris and brush in the river. I don't know if that's still the case.
We're allowed to cut up and down at our, kind of our strip line.
Right, gotcha.
Kind of like that, we cannot go into a DEC protected area.
Because there's one noticeable tree that's down and sort of in the river.
I don't understand it at all.
The other,
Clear that up, it would be a great site view, great vistas.
absolutely, be good for the health of the river too, I think, but hey, that's their call certainly. The original plan also did call for a Kate Marks, a lot more than I thought, but occasionally a park bench of some sort. Any plans to put those in? It's actually part of the logo for the complex, is a nice little park bench for folks to sit down on occasion, so it's not completely a standing experience.
Yeah, that was one of those cutting edge issues in terms of who's actually gonna be sitting there and
I understand.
utilizing it.
I understand.
Again, it was something, if we have to put them in, we're gonna put them in as part of our requirement to satisfy our conditions. But again, when we transition to the homeowners association, I'd rather have them make that call with the village. Again, if it's my requirement, I'm putting them in. I have no problem with that. When the homeowners take control, I feel it's probably safer for them to make that decision.
It does make
But
more
again,
sense that way. I agree with you.
One of the issues that they do have is several car break-ins over the past couple of weeks, which raised quite the fear of some of these residents. And they were calling public safety, and public safety really had a apprehension coming on the private property. I don't know if this is proper venue or if it's a town board, village board, so.
So that kind of thing is, it's also a police matter, it's not.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
you
that's-
tell them to lock their cars.
No, they have, I guess the new, and improved thieves have a new gadget that they can click something and they'll open your car. It's like a universal clicker.
Empty shopping bags.
Well, thank you guys for addressing the concerns, and it's a very thorough report you gave us tonight. Anybody on the board have any other questions right now? Thank you, I think that's very thorough. Is there anyone out in the audience that wants to speak, either for or against the application at the present time? My sense of this is that we've gotten the information that we need. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing this time. Motion made second, all those in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Thank you, both of you, for coming down as well this evening
Thank you.
and for addressing these concerns.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us to the work session. We appreciate it. And just when you might decide.
You'll be hearing from us very shortly with a written decision.
Okay, terrific.
It won't take long, I don't think.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, have a great evening.
Thank you.
Let's see, we have one more adjourned application, which may at this point become a moot point, and is that of Roald Dahl Realty Corporation, 161 River Avenue. Seeks preliminary site plan review to construct a new 57,600 square foot commercial building and site improvements. Subject premise is located in the D2 and E industrial zone. This is the original Blue Point Brewery plan, which of course they, things don't work out, they can always come back to this. But being that we have moved on to the Main Street plan, I don't know if there's any need to continue to carry this on the calendar.
I don't think there is.
I mean, we don't have to necessarily deny
I
it.
would make a motion to withdraw.
No, only they can,
Or,
we can
right, we
dismiss.
dismiss it without prejudice.
Dismiss it,
Yeah.
That we can do, we went over this a couple months ago.
If this does not, if it doesn't happen on Main Street, we would have to reopen and re-advertise.
Yeah, but it's,
It's
you
too
gotta-
old.
it's way too old,
It's
if
too old.
we're gonna go forward with it, we have to hold for a year.
Absolutely. So do we have a motion to dismiss without prejudice? Motion made, any second? Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. That leaves us with our closed calendar. We have a 30-day-old closed and held for decision. Application that is from 160 South Ocean LLC, parentheses Mulford Bay, seeks permission to subdivide various tax map numbers into 2 parcels. Proposed lot 1, 56,544 square feet. Proposed lot 2, 56,697 square feet. Subject premises are located in the D2 business zone.
I did draft the decision, I handed it out at work session, unfortunately, I find myself avoiding further copies of them. So
My sense of this application from last meeting is that no one had any major objections to this. We just wanted to clarify a few things, get them in writing, and make sure we cover all of our bases.
it was all about the conditions, and making them finalized. Now, part of that, in my opinion, was making them finalize a job that's been in limbo for way too long. And making sure whatever happens in the future, all the records are clear. And also, they had some issues on how they're not doing nothing with lot 2 right now, which is fine. It's basically a dirt field, and one of the neighbors complained about a fence.
Yes, it's in bad shape.
And also, people are kind of just rolling onto that area. You don't see the end of the parking lot the way you would normally see the end of the parking lot.
No.
So we did put conditions in that would say they would have to take care of that.
Absolutely, I say that here.
Right. At the time lot 2 is developed, if it needs any utility easements, the owner of lot 1 is already consented. And right now, the quote, reciprocal access easement is really a one-way easement, because lot 2 has no way out to the curb, to the other curb cut, so it makes it reciprocal. And if for some reason the parking easement is ever canceled, they really should come back to us, because the site plan is premised on it. And they would have to deal with the parking requirements at that time, which means that in the current code, they need a variance, or they, even if they reconfigure. But 10 years from now, the requirements could change, and maybe they don't, so they have to deal with whatever's the requirements at that time. I said that they're supposed to follow a map. We have done maps in the past. You know, it's somewhat form over substance, but it makes them completed and completed now. You know, because they can't finalize out what they're doing without filing the map. Once they file the map, then everything is resolved. They have to take care of that fence. They have to place any plantings that need it. They have to show how they're gonna end that parking area for the time being, so it's not just like an open dirt field. And that all becomes part of their site plan, and they have to tender us a sheet so Carol can file it. So if anyone ever says, what's the site plan for lot 1, we don't go through this rigmarole all over again, and they have to go back to Pete and get a real CO for it being issued on lot 1, rather than the fabrication that we were dealing with on the last application. So it tidies up a lot of things. As far as, you know, actual construction that they would have to do, it's not a lot. They have to replace a fence. They have to put up a few plantings and maybe some curb and maybe a 4-foot fence or something. It's not really a lot.
No. Ties things up with a neater bow than has been done in the past.
On this one in particular, it needs to be wrapped up with assurance that it never unravels.
We certainly saw that from the past history this year with the various hearings on this application.
Yeah, and some
Due
of
to the
those,
haste with which things were done 30
some of
years
those
ago.
COs they gave us were not genuine. You know, they didn't on the other hand, as a subdivision, it's simple subdivision, it's good application.
Yeah.
What they do with lot 2 is for another day.
I just had a chance to sort of peruse this quickly, and I was following along with what Joe's counsel was saying. Have other members of the board had a chance to read over and peruse this, this determination as presented tonight? Does anyone at this time want to make a motion on this?
So we're actually moving to approve the subdivision.
As
Subdivision, subject to conditions.
subject to conditions.
I make a motion to approve the subdivision, subject to the conditions stipulated.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Anybody have any questions on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you, council.
If you ever meet my mother, tell her I did a good job. She'd be very,
I'll actually put legend on that. I'll have this one here. Nicely done. My sense of the other application that we just closed within the last few minutes is that maybe we needed to, well, I don't know, it's the pleasure of the board. Maybe have something a little bit more than just an off-the-cuff motion made. Maybe we need to have some things in writing.
my suggestion would be, when you actually boil it down, all they're doing is cutting off a small piece of the parcel to be dedicated to the village. So the village will take 2 dedications, not 1, and they won't happen at the same time. I think what needs to happen is, prior to the time the village receives either of these parcels, the village engineers have to sign off on all the improvements. That's for the pump station before the village takes the pump station, and that's all those swales and everything before they take the main line. And they have to submit all the paperwork required by the village board and the village attorney to make the dedications. I think at that point, everything else has really been done. This is about cutting off the pump station. But I think the village should not receive dedication until it's assured that everything is fine, because then it becomes a village responsibility.
That's not our issue.
No, we're just cutting the lines. I think it's worth stating that, they have to do that. But I understand the pump station's been inspected and is actually okay now.
Yeah,
So they can take that one, they could start the proceedings on that following the decision. And on the swales and such, maybe it's, look, I defer to the village engineers, but I would not be in a terrible rush to take it, because once we take it, it becomes a problem, and, you may wanna look at, I don't know if he's posted any bonds for those improvements, but, it may be worth posting bonds for the swales and such prior to the time the village takes it.
And one rainstorm is not inclusively approved, it's not work. And you also have the issue, if you have a heavy snow load, you're gonna have that issue of melting snow as well coming into spring
And
season.
it's gonna compress it,
Right.
and this is not the highest groundwater time of year.
No, that's true. We're in a drought.
Wow, so, I'd rather give it some time, but, that's really for the engineers. But I would not be in a hurry. The pump station, on the other hand, I think the village should take that and operate it as a village facility, because it's ready to go. It's there, it's done. So if we wanted to condition it, it would be subject to the completion of any necessary work to the satisfaction of the village engineers, submission of all the necessary dedication paperwork to the satisfaction of the board of trustees and the village attorney, and then do we want to make a posted bond on the swales? We could punt that and let the village board worry about that before they take dedication, because they have the right to do it at that time. So those would be 2 conditions.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do you want to act on this application accordingly, or
I think
wait
that-
30 days?
I think that given the
transfer of ownership from the Development and Homeowners Association, which is kind of time sensitive, and they complied with just about everything we've asked them to do and answered every question I've asked them to answer. I really think we should probably render a decision tonight, based on the set of conditions Joe set forth.
Okay.
I agree.
You prepared to make a motion and?
I will make that a motion.
And I was second.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, now this is per what council just told us.
Two conditions, I'll talk to Carol about I'll send Carol some language, but it would be the completion and certification by the village engineers of all the construction, and the submission of all the necessary dedication materials.
It's ultimately the village board's decision to decide when the dedication should take place and whether they're prepared to.
That's correct, yes.
Right, they
That's
have,
really not our.
they have the jurisdiction to do that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, it's also been seconded, any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. We have taken care of everything on our calendar except for Family Dollar. Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Thank you all for your hard work and diligence, and next meeting, of course, is in November.
Does anybody want this for what's